Prescott. So we've got Josina here, and she's very plugged into all of this. So tell us what you know about Amari Cooper and his deal, and really if it could be done before Dax.
Well, I'm told right now that talks are active between both sides and that the progression of those talks are really pending, as of right now, the outcome of the CBA vote. There is some anticipation right now that Amari Cooper will not get tagged and that Dak will, under the expectation that Dak doesn't get a deal. Obviously, that's fluid, but that was the talk that I was hearing last night. There's still optimism that Amari Cooper could return to Dallas, but it's not definitive, and certainly the longer it takes, the clock will work against the Cowboys.
They'll get both deals done. I think Amari Cooper's will get done sooner because it's relatively an easier deal. Yep. I think when you look at the numbers coming in between 18 and a half to call it $21 million, you figure that's a $65 million number over 3 years. And the Dallas Cowboys need him in the worst way. They cannot afford to have him test the free agent market, have a team like the New England Patriots, wow him, throw him away, bring Tom Brady. We got you, Amari Cooper. You don't want to get caught up in that wash at all.
The other thing, Key, is it's an easier deal because it's easier to assess. Everybody across the board can definitively say Amari Cooper is a very good receiver, top flight. But if you were to poll this desk alone, half of us would say Dak is worth 35. The other half would be like, he has good numbers, but he's not all that. I think it's an easier deal to sign Amari because everybody knows Amari is good, where our stance on Dak is still so fluid and up in the air.
Here's why I think it's a little ambiguous for Dak, because under no circumstance do I believe that Dak should sign a contract in any metric that is below Jared Goff.
I'm with you.
Yes.
I'm with you 129%.
Absolutely. He is better in terms of win-loss, completion percentage, QBR.
Running the ball, you name it.
Oh, come on now. So why are you going to take any guarantee less than Jared Goff? Why are you going to have an APY less? And they should be continuing that on. And matter of fact, Dak might be, wanting to press the holdout situation if he doesn't get what he thinks he deserves.
I hear you, and I agree with your the premise of what you're saying. The counter argument to that is just because they made a mistake and overpaid their quarterback doesn't mean we should make the same mistake and overpay ours. That's what I'd be thinking if that's how I viewed Dak Prescott. Now, I happen not to. If it was up to me, I would have signed him last year, and we wouldn't be dealing with this problem now, and I would have saved myself a whole bunch of money. Jerry Jones, to be candid, has gotten all of this in the wrong order. I mean, literally all of it. The Zeke Elliott thing could not have been handled worse, the way they mishandled that totally, and I think it threw everything totally out of whack. The time to take care of this was a year ago. So he finds himself in a trick bag now where he has to pay Dak Prescott far more money than he probably wants.
The other problem, Greeny, with the Zeke handling of the situation is it set a precedent. Jerry Jones set a precedent because Zeke was holding out and hanging out in Cabo, and he got his money. So if you Dak Prescott, Key, and I'm looking at the situation, I'm going to be like, look, I'm going to hold out and do the same thing.
I think a lot of people who's been around this for a long time, like you, Greeny, and if you go back and you think about Jerry Jones, he's always had issue with paying skill position players. Offensive lineman, not a problem. He gives the money to him. Defensive lineman, not a problem. For whatever reason, he struggles to just write the check for skill players. He wants to negotiate. Now, that number of $110 million that Jared Goff gets of guaranteed money, Dak Prescott should get over that by far, and he should get about 75% of his money in a 12-month calendar.
And you're not even counting cap inflation.
So a lot of this, as Josina pointed out, will come down to whether the players vote thumbs up or thumbs down on the collective bargaining agreement. There have been some movements in that arena, if you will, the last couple of days. The NFLPA has a new president. He's not a very well-known player. It's Browns center J.C. Tretter. He won by a majority of the board members in the room on the first vote. So he's the new president of the NFL Players Association. They had to replace the old one because he was no longer an active player. All of that sort of comes as many of the players have already cast their vote, and this will extend out until Saturday night. Quickly, Josina, from all the people that you have spoken to, do you have a sense? I'm going to ask you to guess, and reporters hate guessing, but do you have a guess as to whether this thing will go thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm not guessing here because I just talk to people and get their opinions and relay it, but I would say if you're using the Miami rep meetings as a barometer, I talked to a source last night who said, look, there's still plenty of division. And I think that he also said they were at their most divided on Sunday when the conversation centered around how did we just even get here to where we're on the brink of this CBA vote right now? And there were still plenty of questions even to the president candidates, one of which is your brother, like, how are you going to bring us together? If we vote this no and we don't put it forward, what happens then? And how do we agree to move forward or not? And also, there's still a division as to whether people believe in the leadership of the NFLPA or not right now.
Correct. And here's the problem, the word that Josina used the most, which is very accurate, division. Now, right now, the players are very divided. And as long as they're divided, it's so hard to guess, Greeny. Like, will it get passed? Will it not? The problem is the implications for the CBA are huge for the entirety of the NFL, because I think it will lead to a work stoppage. Do we have any idea? Nobody would tell you. Nobody knows. Right now, we would all just be guessing. I think the players will vote no, and that will be a colossal error.
They should vote yes, because if they vote no, it's the biggest mistake that I've seen since I've been dealing with the NFL.
Why?
As far as on the player side. Because it's not about the guys at the top. It's about the guys at the middle and at the bottom. Because players that are, and guys that retire, players that make minimum right now, I think it's $500, they get an extra bump this year of $100,000+. They get incentives. You get the practice squad. They get extra players. They get more money. All of the sort of things on guys that's only going to be in the league for the next couple years. The Aaron Rodgers of the world, the Russell Wilsons, the J.J. Watt, they're set. They cool. They don't have to do anything but retire.
But you were just on NFL Live just saying you shouldn't do a deal just to do a deal.
But you shouldn't do a deal just to do a deal. But this deal for them is the right deal.
But why can it not be better? Why can it not be better?
Well, it can be better if you want to take that chance.
But
if you want to take the chance and have the owners look at you in next year and then lock you out, and now it's a strike. Now you got all these other people, these young guys looking for money to pay bills, go through all these. Aaron Rodgers ain't digging in his pocket and giving them no money.
There's no football without the players.
Here's the pivotal issue is that Keyshawn, I think players will look at you and be like, oh, it's easy for you to say that now. But back when you were the first pick, when you were making all this money, you wouldn't have said the same thing.
I would have still voted to help the young dudes. You can ask anybody. Anybody that played with me, the young boys, they're in my hip pocket, all of them.
Could potentially also get more with a little bit more waiting.
And they're going to struggle, though. It's about them. I don't want them struggling in 21, 22, 23 when it's all over with.
Or two.
If there's
they
one
want to take
thing
that chance.
we don't know what will happen. If there's one thing we know with certainty is what has happened. Historically, the players don't stay together. You use the word divided. Big stars crossed the picket line in 1987, and they were hopelessly lost at that moment. That, I think, if you're saying, our Diana Rossini was here on our set and told us Tom Brady's market may not be as robust as we would assume it would be. But if Brady does leave New England, what is the plan for the Patriots moving forward? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here's a list of some notable free agent quarterbacks who are on the market. It is a diverse pool with some older players like Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Brees, of course, we all assume is going back to New Orleans. Some have obviously had their ups and downs, like Jameis Winston and Ryan Tannehill. Some young, promising quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Teddy Bridgewater. Safe to say, plenty of different options on the table for the Patriots if they decide to move on. Again, some of those guys are free agents in name only, if you will. But let's just sort of talk about this. If Brady does leave, and you're Bill Belichick, what do you want to do at quarterback? We'll go around the horn. Keyshawn, I'll start with you.
I think if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm looking for a quarterback that had some little bit of success and is still young, and I can get my hands wrapped around him, a guy like Marcus Mariota. And here's why. Because if I can win with Matt Castle, I can go 11-5. I can win with Jacoby Brissett. I can win with Jimmy Garoppolo. I believe that I can win with a guy that can throw the ball, can run the ball, and I got Josh McDaniel that can teach him. And it's the right situation, I think, for a guy like Mariota to go into New England, because you don't have the pressure of trying to replace a legend. Everybody will understand that this kid. I know you're looking at it. I know
there won't be any pressure.
No, it won't be any pressure. No, it won't. It won't be any pressure. But if you're like a Phillip Rivers trying to go to New England, that's pressure. Marcus Mariota won't have that pressure.
I can see the faces on everybody over
there.
there.
They don't know football. I'm not listening to them.
Yes, they do.
Are you giving up on Marcus Mariota? Here's a guy, again, picked right after Jameis Winston. I've made it clear I'm not giving up on Jameis Winston. Mariota won a Heisman. He came in extremely highly touted. Are both of you, who look very skeptical,
I'm not
have you given
giving
up
on Marcus. It's just that the question is, who is best suitable to replace, and that's just not my first choice.
But when you look at the choices that's there, this is the perfect fit. And the reason is it's going to cost you little to nothing to get him. You're not going to get Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is going to get a $100 million deal from somebody.
Here's the issue, though, Key. Here's the issue.
Trying to win.
Let's talk about this. Marcus Mariota got benched For Ryan Tannehill.
Just
now,
that's
he got
okay.
benched. He got benched for Ryan Tannehill before we knew Ryan Tannehill was good.
People get benched all the time.
That's true.
Situations. He was just in the playoffs in 2017.
That's
So
true.
how are you selling it to the Patriot market then?
And beat the Chiefs because I'm Bill Belichick.
you
You trust in me. I just went 11-5 with Matt Castle.
I think it's gonna
flipped
take a little
him.
more than
Then
that,
I flipped
Marcus
him.
Mariota, I'm sorry.
I flipped Jimmy Garoppolo. I flipped Brissett. Every quarterback I touch is gold.
That is true. He got him
that's
some
all I'm
Over
saying.
time,
So,
over time.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna take Key's philosophy and I'm gonna sprint with it, not just run with it. If every quarterback Belichick touches is not only gold but a winner, then give me a quarterback who's accomplished everything but one, which is Phillip Rivers. I understand Key's point. I understand your point, Key.
I don't want to
hear
turn this
you.
into an argument,
I
but
hear
you
you.
cannot roll in there if you Phillip Rivers.
But
Why not?
if you Phillip
can't.
Rivers,
But you're Belichick. Didn't you just tell me
You
that? So
can't.
can't
No,
he
I'm talking
convince
about.
Phillip Rivers?
First of all, Phillip Rivers is old.
he is.
He's
But Brady's older.
But he's
Yeah,
effective.
but he's nowhere near as effective.
Let
as
Acho
Brady,
tell
though,
us
dog.
more why.
To me, if it's Phillip Rivers, it's a stopgap. Phillip Rivers isn't the quarterback for the next decade, but Key said, like, if you're Phillip Rivers, you don't want to go into that situation because it's too much pressure. This is a dude who has 8 Pro Bowls to his name. He was in the Pro Bowl 2 years ago. I'm not just saying this to say
I
numbers.
am following
I'm
the
saying this-
greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. This is not Joe Montana, Steve Young.
which
this
is also
is Steve
present for
Young
Marcus.
is one of the top quarterbacks to
Correct.
ever play, won
Correct.
Super Bowls, MVP. Different situation. This is like somebody trying to follow Marino.
Yeah.
They ain't got it right
Steve,
yet.
The same point still applies to Marcus. You're
It's
following
not.
Tom, regardless of whether it's Marcus
because
or Phillip.
I'm going to give you time. I'm going to give you time to develop. We know what you are. Phillip Rivers is a made man in the NFL, and you're following Tom Brady.
We're still trying to maximize production with the expectation level in New England. I think the expectation is a little bit
Who would
higher,
you
with
sign,
all respect
Justin,
to
if
Marcus.
you were Bill Belichick?
Let me tell you, do you all forget this number right here?
Who that?
5-0. That's what Teddy Bridgewater was when he stepped in for Drew Brees. And how many of you at this table thought he would have that record in place of Drew?
I have no
Me?
qualms about it.
Okay,
I
beat
have no
Seattle, beat the Cowboys, hung 36 on the Bears. So instead of your Marcus Mariota, I'm raising you Teddy Bridgewater.
that's a big
because
raise.
I think it's a better option for the Patriots.
Let me fall back on what Keyshawn brought up, because I don't think anyone would debate that right now Teddy Bridgewater has more value, infinitely more value than Marcus Mariota. But to go back to a phrase we used earlier, his market is going to be robust, right? I mean, you'll be bidding against a lot of people and have to spend a lot of money on Bridgewater. So you'd better have made up your mind that he's going to be my quarterback for the foreseeable future, whereas Mariota is someone, we roll the dice for a year. If it doesn't work, we go on.
I think you can be creative, and you also have to ask, what's your end game for this season, coming up? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to have a stopgap? Are you trying to win? Are you trying to have a better economic, option in terms of Marcus Mariota? What are you trying to do?
The other thing is, when I look at Mariota and I look at other options, getting Mariota, it's not indefensible, right? If he goes in and he sucks, let's just be blunt.
Doesn't
If
play
he goes
good.
in and thank you, that's so much more eloquent. If he goes in and he doesn't play well, then that's not defensible. It's like you knew he wasn't going to, because he didn't play well in Tennessee where he had Derrick Henry. Whereas if you go with somebody like Teddy B,
All right, I ain't gonna say nothing.
I was
I'm-
deceived.
Go on,
Please, your
Teddy.
case
Go on,
strong,
Teddy. Go
but
on
not
to Boston
today.
and see how they work out for you. Go on.
Not
Go right
today.
ahead.
Isn't that
All
what
right,
the kids
so
say? Not
that's
today.
that. Let's get to some moves that we would love to see happen just in our wildest dreams. We're going to run the hurry up through this. And Keyshawn, we start with you. What's an NFL move you'd love to see happen this
The
offseason?
Panthers not moving on, but trading Christian McCaffrey. And here's why. If you don't believe Cam Newton is your quarterback, you're rebuilding with a college head coach going to the pros. You gave him a long-term deal, so you're not trying to win immediately. Why burn up Christian McCaffrey right now? Go ahead, get some picks to build on, give him an opportunity to go to a team that's a winning team so we can see his greatness in the Super Bowl. Why
Acho,
not?
What's your NFL move?
This will not happen, but Laura, I promise if I saw it, it would be the apple of my eye. Joe Burrow and the Panthers making that move to the #1 overall pick to get Joe Burrow. Remember, Joe Brady, who was with Joe Burrow at LSU, they had all the success in the world. They broke every college football passing record in the SEC. If